All right, guys, on the rundown coming into today's show, we were going to discuss the fact that Brendan Sorsby's appeal was shot down by a federal judge. He was likely headed to the supplemental draft, and whether or not the Browns, with the extra draft capital they acquired from L.A. in the Myles Garrett trade, would use that on Brendan Sorsby. But as of a few minutes ago, little breaking news on the show, a district county judge in Lubbock, Texas, has granted a preliminary injunction against the NCAA and is making Sorsby eligible for the upcoming 2026 season with a suspension for the first 2 games. This is not finalized. It now goes back to the federal court. We'll see what the federal court does. But let's start with your initial reaction to the back and forth over reinstatement being denied, reinstatement
First thing,
being
Mike,
injunction.
It's funny that players are now fighting to stay in college.
Well, they can make. They will make. He'll make more this year than he will next year.
He's making more than $5 million.
Yeah,
that's confirmed.
I mean, unless you're a high pick in the NFL draft, there were guys last year that came out and said, "I took a pay cut. I went to the NFL and I took a pay cut."
I wonder if that federal judge in Lubbock is a Texas Tech fan.
Yeah, that's what I chuckled at. I'm like, well, I'm pretty sure they elect judges in Texas.
Yeah.
If this judge...
I can't confirm, Jay, as someone who lived there. Judges are voted on.
Yes, I know. And so if this judge had... That would have been political suicide. Yeah. It would have been career suicide. He would have been in private practice the next time his name was on the ballot. He had no choice. I tend, as these things go, and I follow these courts... The court cases a little bit more than I ever did before because now I'm in news upstairs.
Yeah.
My read on this is the federal judge is going to do what he did the first time.
Yeah, right.
He's going to
correct.
Most likely reinstate that he is ineligible, which means he probably will be available for the supplemental draft.
When is the supplemental draft, Mike?
Okay, so there is no set date for the supplemental draft. It depends because there's many years that there isn't a supplemental draft.
Right.
But it is believed that the deadline for Brendan Sorsby to enter the supplemental draft would be the end of this month. So the timing of this is crucial because if we agree that it's going to flip back the other way, if it happens after June 30th, then he's just not going to be in football this year.
And I would guess that the NCAA would expedite the next level of this appeal because they want some sort of clarity before that point.
So we're just finding this out as we were talking baseball.
We didn't know.
And it was passed along. As of right now, he's not in the supplemental draft. He's in college football.
Do you read it how I do, though, that he will be available?
Yeah, I would say this. The NCAA has been making absurd decisions pre-NIL, post-NIL, right? And there's not been any precedent, and we all roll our eyes.
Yeah.
But they've always been very clear. You gamble, you're out. You're not playing.
That's very clear.
It has been admitted that he was gambling. He's gotten treatment for the gambling. It's all on record. It's on a public account under his name, and he was tied to other accounts.
Pretty crafty
the NCAA
guy.
has said, the NCAA has said, you're not playing college football. So will the federal judge agree? I don't know. But as far as the Browns and the NFL, and before we even get to the many layers of that, if this isn't settled by June 30th, then he's just not going to be in football this year, if the ruling is ultimately that he can't play.
Yeah.
I have flip-flopped on this subject now a couple of times, guys. At first I was like, you might as well use a pick. And then I was like, the Browns are such a mess. Well, we're going to wait till next year. Don't waste a pick on him. But especially... You had a convincing argument last time we talked about this. That in combination with the Myles Garrett trade and all these extra picks, now I flip back the other way.
Why? Because there's more capital, so there's
not so much capital.
Yeah.
So if you're going to use it, why not use a third or fourth round pick? Okay. If the Browns brass thinks he's worth it.
Zach, where are you talent-wise on this kid? You've probably seen him more than Mike. I know you've probably seen him a lot too, having ties to Texas.
I'll defer to Zach on this one.
Yeah, I'm very high on him. I think recent history has shown that we don't know on these QBs, right? A year in advance. But the general consensus is it's Arch Manning, it's Dante Moore, and then Sorsby's in this next group. He's not a complete product, but he's an athlete. He produced. He had an incredible year last year, Jay, until the last few games. And then that adds another layer of complication here. This is a guy with a gambling problem, and all of a sudden he wasn't playing that well.
Yeah.
What was going on? But 2 years at Cincinnati, he lit it up. He was going to get, Texas Tech outpays everyone else, but he was going to get this big money from somewhere, and I think that was motivation. He could have gone in this year's draft in the first round. So where in next year's draft does he rank? What all comes out about what he was doing and where he is mentally? What baggage will he carry forward in terms of actual penalty, or does a team have to worry about a relapse, something like? We don't know any of that.
What's his size?
On talent, this is a first-round player.
He's 6'2", 230.
Perfect size.
Okay, I like that a lot.
The Browns used the third-round pick on Dylan Gabriel.
Yeah. No,
This guy's a lot more talented.
That's right.
Yeah, I wish we could get that pick back. Maybe we could trade Dylan Gabriel for him. That would be nice.
Yeah, I mean, with these extra picks and with the importance of the position, if you're not, unless there's just something that comes out of it, and it's not all out yet, it's not going to get to the forefront. It would be malpractice not to explore using one of those picks on the most
What do you
important
think the
position in
interest will
sports.
be? Because I was asking you in the break about the order. You said it's the order of last year's draft. We would be 6. We know the 5 teams that are ahead of Cleveland. Would one of them maybe put a bid in to try to get them?
The Jets maybe, but they have 3 first-rounders for next year. The Cardinals maybe. I think it comes down to the baggage, what's out there.
Yeah.
If it gets to the stage where he is in the supplemental draft and teams meet with him and really do the full research. We don't know it all right now, right? But yes, there would be a handful of teams, and then if the further down you go, the supplemental draft is basically a silent auction. Then more teams are getting in because you're talking about a red-shirted quarterback.
Yeah.
He's not going to play much in the NFL in 26 if he's in the league.
Right.
But you're talking about an opportunity to spend a mid-round pick on a player
bring
that could
in
really
another
pay off.
flyer.
Now, it could be disaster, and that's the holdup. But this could be a great hit.
Historically, I know Bernie Kosar was a pick. Supplemental
Josh
pick.
Gordon.
Josh Gordon. I can't think of any other supplemental picks that the Browns have had.
The Browns have not, no.
So they haven't really been that active.
Josh Gordon was picked in the supplemental draft in 2012.
Yeah.
And I think only 2 guys have been picked in any supplemental draft
Since.
Was it a second round for Gordon?
They used a second-round pick.
Yeah.
That's when Pat Shurmur was the head coach of the Cleveland Browns.
And I know that's the biggest word in the dictionary, but he hit, but there were problems, baggage problems.
Yes.
And that's what would scare me with this kid.
Yes.
For most of these, Bernie did not have the baggage. Bernie, I thought, just played chess with the system.
Yeah.
And he kind of manipulated it. Minnesota was another team that was interested, I think, but the Browns outmaneuvered. Those were the days.
Yeah.
And Bernie played it well, and it worked out. But yeah, we're a long way from that. We're a long way from that happening. But
I mean, a quarterback being in this, a quarterback who's a legit prospect adds a whole other layer to it.
Yeah, it really does.
Everybody who comes in the supplemental draft, there are reasons. Let me stress that.
Sure, yes.
Whatever it may
and
be.
this is no
And
exception.
Josh Gordon was sleeping in the Taco Bell drive-thru, and that was part of the reason his college career came to an end.
Yes, it was.
And the Browns said, "We'll take him."
Who hasn't slept in a Taco Bell drive-thru?
Exactly.
Come
At 2
on.
o'clock in the morning.
I want to point this out real quick. This is literally happening in real time.
Yeah.
Ian Rappaport just tweeted out a second ago. Texas Tech quarterback Brendan Sorsby, slated to be one of college football's top prospects, will serve a 2-game suspension as part of the ruling. In addition, he officially won't be eligible to participate in the NFL supplemental draft.
Yeah, no,
This
we
is this
know
ruling.
that.
Yeah.
That's where we stand. Now, I think the thing missing from Ian's tweet
Assuming
is
the
context.
federal judge doesn't
This
come
is
back
all
and
pending an
overrule it.
appeal that
Yes.
is absolutely going to happen. And oftentimes in stories like this, where there's appeals, it makes it sound too definitive. And that's
Right.
this is anything but locked in
Look,
stone.
this is a huge football story on so many levels, right? This is Brendan Sorsby. Is he in college football or is he in the draft?
Yeah.
Right? This is a high-profile player in this gambling-first world that's had this come out. Can Texas Tech win the national championship or not?
Sure.
This is a guy that plays a season that could be involved in the top 10 of the draft if he's healthy and he has a great year. This could this could change so many things.
Yeah.
So many things are at stake.
Big story on both levels, college,
sure.
NFL, and it really is a sign of the times. He's fighting to stay in school.
Yeah.
That is a product of the NIL and these kids.
He's the second one this year to fight to stay in school.
Yes,
Trinidad
because
Chambliss from Ole Miss
Chambliss
did as
wanted
well.
to stay too.
Yeah.
It's a crazy upside down
is.
world we're living in,
Yeah.
and we're trying to follow it all as fast as well as we can.